Hey everyone, I'm Rafi Sale. I'm back with MX Data. Today, Megan Grove and I are happy and proud to have Libby Shani as a guest on the Digital Fireside Chat. How's everyone doing today?
Good,
Great.
good. How are you?
So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, thank you. We're in different parts of the country, but mainly based in New York City. And um, Libby, how is the weather in New York City today, this week?
Well, we are getting into the muggy period of summer where there's a lot of a lot of humidity, and it makes it a lot less fun to use public transportation. So you wind up having to opt for a lot of Ubers and air conditioning.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it being summer, I just want to throw out happy summer to everyone. Happy July 4th is coming up, and we're going
Yeah.
to address these things when we talk further. Let's just jump right into it. Megan, why don't you introduce MX Data, and then we'll get to Libby's background and where she is today.
Okay. So yeah, I'm Megan Grove, the customer engineer at MX Data. Thank you so much for joining us today. And Libby, we're so happy to have you. I am actually very excited to announce Libby because we met when we were working with a mutual customer, HBX New York. And we established a relationship right off the bat and discovered that we have a lot of great things that we could talk about retail. So that's why we have Libby here today. Libby, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, as Megan said, we first met working on a store opening for Hypebeast, their first US store. And Rekon came in working as a partner. We advise and work as an embedded partner to different brands as they are making their first entrance into physical retail. So a lot of our brands are direct to consumer brands that don't know the first thing about brick and mortar other than that they want to go in that direction. And so we come in as subject matter experts to really project manage the end-to-end process and manage different vendors and partners and retail solutions like MX that are brought into the project to really help execute and make a big success for a first retail store.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. Let's just jump right into it. Obviously, like I said, summer is here, and we're still we've been using this line for a long time, months now. We're coming off of COVID. People are getting out of their houses and their apartments and their shelters. And this summer, I think this summer is going to be huge. But let's back up a little bit and let's just talk about Rekon Retail first of all, and how you work as a PM for retailers, and how you work with MX Data.
Yeah, sure. So typically we'll work with brands that either have no stores or have maybe their first or second store that they kind of bootstrapped. And I don't mean financially, I mean kind of in terms of getting it open and pieced it all together, which is great and wonderful. But it's not really set up to scale, right? I mean, you don't want to reinvent the wheel each and every time. So what we do is we help create a scalable foundation and scalable processes. And so in relation to the partner that we worked on together where we met through Hypebeast, they were implementing a solution, a POS solution for a major flagship that they were opening in New York City. And MX was the solution and providing the POS tech and the hardware and the software. And we worked with the HBX team to really help the adoption and have the team know how to use it and function and how it would affect customer experience and flow, and also things that needed to be kind of over the first couple months of operation iterated in terms of processes as they related to POS, order fulfillment, inventory management, etc. So they were great partners to work with on this project. And that's typically what we do across, we'll liaise between a brand and their architects or their designers or their tech vendors, their whatever it is. I mean, each project is a little bit different, but we are retail experts, and so we kind of almost sometimes going to serve as like the translator between kind of what a brand wants and then what the vendor solution provider is able to provide.
Megan, so what was your end of that relationship?
Fees through Retail Pro. So Retail Pro is their point of sale solution that they use for inventory control management, to ring sales, establish, their e-commerce space. MX Data also that's kind of when you came in, actually, Libby, I think is when we were really starting to launch e-commerce, which ended up being a huge thing, very successful for Hypebeast. But, they really did need somebody like Libby to kind of come in and project manage, the whole project, just because it's like they knew what they wanted, but they didn't know how to execute. They knew they wanted our solution, but they just did not know how to make that happen internally, because there's a lot of logistics and changes and workflow process and even employees that need to be involved to make that a successful transition. So we still work with Hypebeast. We meet actually weekly, and it's fun to now kind of see they're kind of coming up, they're growing, they've established so much buzz in New York. So that's very exciting. And so we are like the ongoing business partner then after kind of major implementation concludes.
So, one of the things that we discussed in the pre-recording was that my example in the food industry is that restaurants actually work at a loss when they open up their first. And then the second one is usually break even. And then they start to make money in the third, et cetera, franchise. And one of the things we were discussing is like, hey, can we get this right the first time in retail? So Libby, can you speak a little bit about that and then jump into some trends that we're seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we very much, there's plenty of, I would say, brands and also, frankly, retail agencies out there that believe that your retail store is marketing, and so it can just sit in the marketing line of your budget, and it doesn't really matter if it makes money, because at the end of the day, it's marketing for your overall brand and e-commerce business, which is all well and good, but that's not what we believe at Rekon. We believe that a store can do better and should do better than just break even, and really should be profitable from the first store. Now, that being said, it may not be immediately profitable, but there are ways to certainly with the first one, value engineer things to be able to get, I would say, a little bit beyond an MVP, but where you can really get a good pilot, a good testing ground, because ultimately you are going to learn the most from your first one, right? And that's the goal of the first one, and also, at the very least, it should break even, but you are going to learn so much to inform the second one and the third one and the future expansion. So you don't want to spend, you don't want to blow through your budget on the first store. And there are ways to be able to achieve what you want to achieve and not have to overspend. And I think one of the challenges is that a lot of times a brand will think, it has to be perfect right out of the gate, or you think you know something about how your customers are going to behave, right? You think we're going to build this big, fancy, expensive fixture, or we're going to spend a ton of money on this Instagrammable moment, right? That's a big thing that a lot of stores now like to have, this big, flashy Instagrammable moment. And then when you open your doors, people aren't actually flowing in the direction that you wanted them to. They're actually walking around this big expensive fixture that you put in the middle to get to something in this back corner, or they're completely missing your Instagrammable moment and not engaging with it. And now you spent a whole lot of money on something that actually isn't functioning the way you intended it to. So how can you possibly get that same, achieve the same goal, not having spent as much money, and then learn and make it better for number two? So I would say that's kind of how we look at things, and certainly want to value engineer the first store. Oh, we lost Megan. It might be technological challenges.
Tech difficulties. Please
Tech
stand
difficulties. Please stand by.
So Libby, let's just continue the conversation because right now it's all about you. So look, summer is here, as I mentioned before.
Yes.
And I'm thinking about two things. Number one is I'm thinking about how you had mentioned before, it's muggy and it's hot in New York City. And I'm walking through Times Square and there are two things happening. Number one is I am smelling a fragrance. That fragrance could be chocolate coming from the M&M store, or it could be delicious perfume from Sephora.
Yep.
Right. So that's one thing. The aroma, the scent of the store. That's number one. Number two is, correct me if I'm wrong, stores used to be able to keep their front doors open with air conditioning, and now is that a law against that now?
In New York City, it is. I mean, I can't speak. I'm not an expert on the laws all across the country, but in New York City, it is a law that if your air conditioner is running, you cannot keep the doors open because you are wasting a tremendous amount of energy. As my mother likes to say, cooling the environment. You know, she's also anti those, you know, like those space heaters in restaurants when you're sitting outdoors. So you know, it does create a little bit of a tough conundrum, because as a store, you want to give people walking by in the street, passersby, you want to make it really easy for them to cross your lease line, right? Because the moment they're inside, there's an opportunity you have to now engage them, and then you want to try to get a product in their hand or that and start to form those emotional connections. But it's a lot harder if you can't have your doors open while your AC is blasting. So I can't say that anyone's come up with a perfect solution for that yet. But yeah.
So three things come up off of what you just said. Number one is that M&M store. There's no way that you can sell a $10 bag of candy and make the rent in Times Square. So that speaks to the store as an advertisement, as a billboard itself.
Store as living billboard for the M&M brand and, you know, the Mars Corporation.
Right. Second point is my office used to be literally in Times Square next to Bubblegum Shrimp. Actually, it was like next door to Bubblegum Shrimp. And I remember they had signage on the sidewalk. So it's interesting that you were talking about how far can I push it out? Like, is there a retail police? Like, who is managing those signs on the street? And number three is my office in Chelsea. Specifically, there's a magic store. I think it was on 21st Street. They always had a great chalkboard billboard sign that would have something snappy and smart and witty that would be a draw in. So is marketing one of the things that Rekon gets involved with, also getting people into the store?
That's a good question. I would say it is, insofar as, you know, what we're really focused on is the experience when you walk through the doors, right? Because that is what somebody will remember, right? And therefore it is marketing. It is retail store as marketing, because certainly for a lot of, it's the experience. Yeah, and certainly for a lot of our clients, I mean, you use the M&M store as an example, right? M&M is, I mean, Mars Corporation is a huge corporation, and so they, kind of to the point we were talking about before, they can afford to have a store that just functions as a billboard and maybe breaks even on the crazy rent they're paying in Times Square, or maybe it ekes by with a little bit of profit, but that's okay because again, they're a huge conglomerate. I think for a lot of our clients who are smaller direct to consumer brands, you're not in that same position where you can afford to have a store just break even or lose money. And so for marketing, ultimately, your store experience should make customers want to shop in store with you again, but also continue to support your brand online. That is when you have done it right. So yes, the store functions as marketing, not only as a billboard, but part of what we do is help craft as Megan said, the customer experience, not just what does the store look like? Because oftentimes that is what brands focus in on. What is the store going to look like? What color are the walls? And that is an important part of it too. But you can have the most beautiful store and the most beautiful surroundings. And if the interaction breaks down at the sales associate level, if I as a customer walk in and the person who's servicing me does not represent that brand well, does not know what they're talking about, isn't kind and courteous, isn't living the values and the ethos of the brand, I'm not going to remember how beautiful the store is. I'm going to say, oh, wow, this brand is presented very differently online than it did when I went for this, IRL experience with this brand. And that's not good marketing.
Well, and the thing too, Libby, with e-commerce is now that retailers have like buy online, pick up in store so popular, they're trying to bring people in the door. So if you don't have your associates, ready to provide the value, sell the brand, then it'll be a lost cause. But that's why that's, super important from the employee standpoint as well.
Absolutely. And emotional intelligence there, Megan, is key, right? Because there are different types of customers who walk into your door. And to your point, a customer who did a buy online, pick up in store order, what they want, like their goal might be in and out, right? Yeah. What they want for that to be a successful interaction is I walk in the store, somebody knows exactly where my item is. They bring me my order and I'm out the door in 45 seconds. And for them, that is a successful experience interaction with the brand. Whereas somebody else coming in to discover the brand maybe for the first time, or, I've looked at your stuff online before, but I've wanted to actually try on how these shoes fit, how these pants fit, see and touch and feel the fabrics and all of that. They need a different kind of experience. And that's why the store associates, need to have a high level of emotional intelligence and the ability to be agile and respond to every customer's needs, making sure that they leave having gotten out of the interaction what they needed from it. So yeah.
So I had touched upon this before. Summer is here. COVID, is COVID officially over? So I'd love to hear from both of you. If COVID is over, it's the summer, COVID is over, people are getting out of their houses. But Megan, to your point, people are browsing and searching online and picking up in store. They're no longer, I feel sorry for the delivery people. They're probably losing out.
Delivery people. Yeah, so actually though, even though people are shopping online, our retailers are seeing a huge surge of customers in the store. It's like brick and mortar has resurfaced, but gotten even bigger and better for customers. And a lot of that goes with some of the solutions, like the IT solutions that have kind of evolved or even become more popular since COVID, which is, the line busting, the mobile devices, the buy online, pick up in store. It actually gets people in the store, building customer loyalty and rewards. And there's just so much now that's offered to bring people to the stores. And that's another reason why Libby and I are talking, is not only from the mutual customer we have, but people are opening stores. And a lot of people that we're seeing is even like European stores or Asian retailers are opening their first flagships in New York. And so brick and mortar is booming.
Retail is alive. That's what we like to say.
It feels like COVID is over in the retail world.
For sure. I actually think COVID created a very interesting, not COVID, post-COVID, I would say, created a very interesting, it really brought the momentum back, right? Because of some of that stuff we talked about, the pent-up demand and all of that. People just wanted to get out of their houses. It was like, it's almost like it was a slingshot, right? And COVID pulled it. Everybody was saying retail is dying and people don't want to go to stores anymore. And we're all doing all our shopping online and that. And then COVID came along and it was this slingshot and it pulled all the way back. And then it was like, boom, it let go. And then, now retail is like rocketing forward. People, there's a renewed interest by brands and by consumers to be out in the world and get to interact and have experiences with their favorite brands. I mean, HBX is a perfect example, Megan. I mean, that is a brand that is like, they're more than just retail, right? They have the whole publishing arm. They have a cult following of people who are devoted to Hypebeast and what Hypebeast stands for. And so when they opened their doors in New York City, like, of course, you had lines around the block of people wanting to see this brand come to life in the real world. And we're seeing that all around.
Speaking of the slingshot, retail in general has always been fast-paced, but literally now with the explosion of solutions that are offered to customers, like by retailers, everything is so fast-paced. I mean, it's instant, it's on demand. Like, retailers have got to be set up to be able to accommodate I don't even know, like, what could I call it more than like fast-paced? I mean, it really is just crazy. Everything's instantaneous. So it's crazy, actually.
Well, I mean, I think that speaks to like the number of options people have today too, right? And like what we were saying, people want to shop when they want to shop, how they want to shop. So sometimes that means I start my journey online and I know the store has it and I want to run in and pick it up and grab it. Sometimes it means I don't need this right away and I can just place an order and it can be in my house in a day or 2 days or 3 days. Sometimes it means I just want to wander around and in and out of stores and see what the latest offerings are and the trends and who's doing interesting things. And brands have to be ready and set up to accommodate all of those types of customers.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Let's summarize. If you could, each of you, Megan and Libby, if you could give someone who's watching one takeaway or 1.5 takeaways. What's the one takeaway people should come away from this conversation for this summer and or for what's ahead for the rest of the year in 2023? Go ahead.
Libby, you can go first.
Okay. I think the biggest thing people can take away is that at the end of the day, retail is about the people and the interactions, right? That is what makes a memorable retail experience on behalf of a brand. And so having a beautiful store and all that, that's table stakes, but you gotta get the people right. And when I say the people, that also means, that incorporates the solutions, right? The tech solutions, because the people need to know how to operate the tech solutions seamlessly, right? Whether it is getting you enrolled in the loyalty program so that you as a customer can get great value, whether it is getting you your order in 30 seconds flat so you can be on your way to the next thing you want to do, whatever that is, but you have to invest in your people. They are what makes the difference in good and lousy retail experiences.
Great. Megan?
I'd say my takeaway is I want retailers to understand that there are so many options to grow the business. And really, they should look at people like Rekon or MX Data to assist with those options, because it can be overwhelming to try to decide on which products or vendors or what solutions you need, and to really lean on people like us, because we genuinely care. We care about your business. We want to see you grow, and that's why we're here. So
fantastic. Libby, any upcoming shows, conferences? Are you traveling at all?
Yeah, we're going to be at, we're actually going to be at the Lead Innovation Summit in July. We're attending, it's a great conference in New York that's going to have a lot, really focuses on like innovative D2C brands and companies. And so we will be there, and we're excited to meet and talk to people there. Travel, I mean, I got some personal travel on the docket, but we will be opening some stores later this year in San Francisco, in Ohio,
Oh, you
also
have to
in
visit me when
Boston.
you're here, Libby. Where in Ohio?
Yeah, Columbus. It's in Columbus.
Not far. We'll start talking retail flow for that customer.
There you go. Yeah, so we work all over the country, so we will be popping all over the second half of this year, opening up some great new stores.
That sounds great. And everyone can hear about this at rekonretail.com. That's
rekonretail.com.
REKON. And Megan, how about for MX Data? What do we have coming up this summer and or the rest of the year?
We have several webinars coming up over the next few months. We'll send out announcements for those. We are attending a Retail Pro conference over Labor Day weekend, so we're super excited about that, and also hoping to come home with a lot of new information and updates and exciting info for Retail Pro. So that we'll have that information heading into Q4.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Once again, I'm Rafi Salem with MX Data. Thank you, Libby. Thank you, Megan. Everybody, wave on the way out.
Bye. Thank you so much, Libby. Thanks for attending.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for hosting, Rafi.